The group traveled mostly in silence for the rest of the way. Taur stayed close to Enden, but never took his eyes off Sagi. It was fun to watch her in her element. Little things she would do to track what she was hunting intrigued Taur. Where Yalusa's tip led her was an empty area near the edge. Yalusa reached their destination first and raised her arm to signal the others to stop. "This is the location," said Yalusa. "Gilden, what do you make of it?" Gilden put his hand up and pushed forward until he couldn't anymore. "Well, it's definitely a barrier similar to the forest." "Can you open it?" asked Sagi. "I can open it for sure. The problem is if I open it in the traditional sense of how we enter the forest, it will alert Mavis." Gilden put his bag down and began rummaging through the supplies he brought with him. "I'm going to need a few minutes, but I have an idea. Take as much time as you need and let us know if we can help." Yalusa knelt down next to Gilden and tried to watch what supplies he was preparing closely. In the meantime, Sagi walked over to Taur. Taur was still taking in the surroundings. If he had been here before, he obviously forgot, so it was like he was seeing this land for the first time. Being this close to the edge meant being close to the magical barrier that separated the west and east of Novessa. You could see a blue haze in the distance that floated in front of the darkness of space. "Interesting, isn't it?" Sagi asked as she got close to Taur. She tapped the bag of supplies Taur was holding, and he swung it around so it was in front of him. Sagi opened it up. "Did you not use any of your rations?" "Rations?" "I wasn't thirsty or hungry," said Taur. "This barrier was set up long ago." "Yes, whatever magic the people who set up Novessa had, it was insanely powerful. The barrier has been up for hundreds of years without showing any signs of wavering. I don't think Novessa holds enough magical power for anyone to find a way through." "Mr. Walton thinks otherwise," said Taur. "At least that's what Corey told me. He's trying to break through to the other side." Sagi pulled a container of water from Taur's bag and pushed it into his chest. "Thirsty or not, you should drink." Taur opened the container and gulped down some water. Even if Mr. Walton found a way, he could be dead from old age long before he got it to work. We're talking centuries of magical power. He's not going to crack it overnight, or even after a few years. "In this barrier, can Gilden crack it?" Taur offered the water container to Sagi. She stared at it for a few minutes. Sharing containers was something she had only done with Yalusa, and the gesture flustered her. Instead, she took the container, put the cap back on for Taur, and placed it in his bag. "Gilden can crack any barrier. The problem is alerting Mavis. I think he knows another way through, though." Sagi turned around to look at what Gilden was doing. He overheard her and looked up. "I already figured it out, but you might not like it." Gilden held up a small tube. "Molecular displacement?" asked Yalusa. She was now standing beside Gilden with her arms folded. "I suppose it could work." "It will work, my dear," Gilden corrected. "It's a matter of if we want to cross that barrier all discombobulated." "It also depends how long we can displace," said Sagi. "What's the average transport time, and how thick is this barrier?" "We'll have plenty of time. The average displacement is 5 to 10 seconds. For big guys like Taur and Enden, we're looking at 15 to 20. I've never seen a barrier bigger than a centimeter, so that time frame is plenty." "And if it's thicker?" asked Taur. "You'll still make it through, but, Gilden grabbed another item from his bag. It was a small pickaxe-looking item. Then he stood up and faced the barrier. "If the displacement takes longer, you'll come out with some body parts in the wrong spot." "Great," said Yalusa. "Any other options?" "None as quick and quiet as this." Gilden placed the tip of the tiny pickaxe against the barrier and then looked behind him. "It'll be fine. I'll go first, just in case." Gilden tapped the barrier lightly with the tip of the pickaxe. It hardly looked like he hit it from where Taur was standing. Then Gilden shoved the tiny tube he was holding into the opening. "Our entire bodies have to pass through that?" asked Taur. "How is that even possible?" "It's possible, it's just not fun," said Sagi. "We've done this before, and it's a magic that's practiced in our forest for moments like this." "How often do you have to pass through tiny things like this?" Taur laughed, but it was more of a concerned laugh than anything. "Your body is going to go into an extremely basic molecular form. And Kari have been practicing transmography magic for years." Gilden pulled out 5 small pieces of metal from his bag. "We've developed all different types of things to change the shape and appearance of people and things, but most of the magic doesn't last for a very long time. Molecular displacement is something we discovered a little over 10 years ago, and it's something we teach all in Kari now." Yalusa took one of the metal objects from Gilden. "Put these on your chest like this." Yalusa placed the metal object onto her chest and it absorbed into her skin. "Don't worry, it's completely safe and your body will expel it after the displacement." Taur grabbed the metal from Gilden and put it on his chest in the same way Yalusa just did. It absorbed into his skin and he didn't feel anything. He watched as Sagi, Enden, and Gilden did the same. "Alright, let's get this show on the road." Gilden tapped his chest 3 times and Taur watched as Gilden got sucked through the tube in the barrier like a straw. Gilden appeared on the other side completely intact and turned around to show Taur that everything was fine. The metal piece popped out of his chest shortly after. Enden went next to assure Tor that bigger people can pass through. Yalusa went after him. Sagi walked over to where the tube was and looked back at Tor. I'll go last. Are you sure you're comfortable doing this? You can wait out here for us if you want. No, I've come this far. I'm coming in. Tor walked up to the barrier and took a deep breath. Tap lightly in the spot the metal went in 3 times, Sagi explained. Tor just watched 3 people do it, so he felt pretty confident. Tapped his chest 3 times. He could see the inside of the tube as his body transported through, but the moment he hit the tube, the only thing he could see was silver and black swirls connecting to each other and moving in circles. This went on for a few seconds before he was spat out on the other side. When he returned to his normal size, the ground in front of him kept shrinking and expanding while his eyes adjusted. Well, what do you think? Gilden was leaning over so he could be face to face with Tor. Tor didn't even realize he was on all fours on the ground until Gilden leaned over. He looked down and saw the metal piece that was in his chest on the ground. It felt weird. Tor pushed himself up and Gilden and Enden helped him. Not nearly as bad as I thought it would be. All right, that's what I'm talking about. You're a natural. Gilden jumped up in the air. He was so excited. He immediately pulled a small bucket out of his pocket. Is that a tiny bucket? Tor squinted his eyes to help him see it. Yeah, watch. Gilden waved his hand over the bucket and it expanded to normal size. Can't believe humans don't have these. What do we need the bucket for? Tor asked as he looked at the outside of the barrier. Sagi was still out there. Gilden raised the bucket to show Sagi. Let's just say that some people can't handle molecular displacement too well. Sagi came through and Gilden handed her the bucket. She looked as if she was going to throw up, but fought back the urge. Instead, she just spit into the bucket a few times. You're getting better, Yalusa said with a laugh as she patted Sagi on the back. I hate doing that. Sagi spit one more time before putting the bucket down. Let's get moving. Sagi and Yalusa once again led the way, but this time Gilden, Enden, and Tor stayed closer to them. The inside of the barrier was much different than what it looked like from the other side. Most of the inside was a swamp. At times the group had to pass through a lot of mud that went up to their knees. Small bushes littered the pathway and hid frogs and other tiny animals and insects. Occasionally, Sagi or Yalusa would kneel down to check for footprints to help point them in the right direction, but for the most part the ground looked untouched. After traveling for a few minutes, the group noticed a small hut in the distance. That must be where Mavis has been staying, said Sagi. I can't be sure he isn't home, added Yalusa. Everyone stay ready. Yalusa and Sagi readied their bows. Gilden waved his hand and a staff appeared. Enden had no weapon, but Tor assumed he just fought with his fists. It made Tor feel a bit better that he wasn't carrying a weapon either. As the group got closer to the hut, a small ball of magic began to appear in front of them. Everyone down, yelled Yalusa. The group ducked, but the ball of magic, hovered in front of them. It then split apart and created a circle of magic around them. The circle began to expand, and suddenly the group was surrounded by multiple cloaked people. They all stood back up. Who are you? Asked Sagi. The first one to take their hood down was a human man. His eyes had bags under them, and he looked disheveled. We could not eat or sleep until you arrived. We must protect this place. When the man spoke, it was as if he wasn't even talking to Sagi or anyone in their group. He looked beyond where they were standing. Who said you couldn't eat or sleep? Asked Enden. He stepped in front of the group, but Sagi and Yalusa kept their bows at the ready for the others around them. Mavis, look at what this has done to our brothers and sisters. The man put his arm out, and more balls of magic began to pop up all around the swamp. When the balls transformed into people like the ones in front of them, it was a lot of dead bodies. You said we couldn't leave until you came here, and some died of starvation and fatigue. If these people are weak from starving themselves and depriving themselves of sleep, Gilden looked around, they won't be able to provide much protection. It's true, but we must do what he says. Cloaked Man pushed his cloak aside to reveal a sword, and swung at Enden. The large Ankari disarmed the assailant and knocked him out with a single punch. The attack caused Sagi and Yalusa to begin filling the other cloaked people with arrows. No shot they landed was fatal, but enough to take the people out of the fight. As each hood fell from their attackers, it revealed male and female humans, as well as male and female Ankari. After the brief fight was over, Yalusa surveyed the area. He had Ankari and humans doing his bidding, she said. Something is very off about all of this. It didn't seem like they had a choice in the matter, added Taur. These people starved themselves just to stand guard. It sounded like Mavis knew we were coming, said Enden. We need to stay on our toes. Or maybe they were just meant to guard this place from anyone, not just us. Our arrival just triggered their next move, said Gilden. This looked a lot like hypnosis magic. You can hypnotize people with magic, asked Taur. Gilden turned to face Taur as he spoke. You can, but it's forbidden. Not only by the Ankari, but also by the human's guard. Let's press on ahead, said Sagi. We won't get more answers here. We need to get inside. Everyone agreed and they made their way to the hut. The front of the hut was closed off by a door made out of plants, and as the group approached it, the plants moved aside for them. This place reeks of magical energy, said Gilden. Automated plant doors probably have something to do with that, said Yalusa. We have visitors, someone yelled and startled the group. The person yelling was in a cage to the right of the entrance. It was a human man, and he was wearing a similar cloak to the people outside. We have visitors, he repeated. Now that their attention was drawn to this area, the group noticed multiple cages along the sides of both walls, filled with Ankari and humans alike. He has prisoners, said Enden. That's putting it lightly, said Sagi. There are so many people caged in here. How did no one notice these people were missing? Yalusa walked over to the cage next to the first person they heard. How did you get in here? The next caged person just kept repeating the word magic. Sagi walked up to one on the other side. This is horrible, she said. Taur joined her. We have to get them out. Death will set you free, said one in front of them. The words caused Sagi to take a step back. Death will set you free, repeated the person next to that one. For the next 4 prisoners, they just kept saying death will set you free over and over again. There's another barrier in front of all of the prisoners, said Gilden. Not sure I can get through this one. The magic in here is overwhelmingly strong. We won't be able to break this one. The response came from a young Ankari woman in the cage across from them. Wait! Gilden ran up to her cage as close as the barrier would let him go. You're not brainwashed like the others? No, I'm the only one. The woman had her hands chained to each other as well as her feet. She crawled to the front of her cage. Are you friends with Mavis? We were here looking for him, said Sagi as the rest of the group joined Gilden by the cage. He's out. He won't be back for a while, I think. The woman sat back down on the floor. I'm Elena. Hi, Elena. I'm Sagi. Why did Mavis put you all in cages? Everyone else is for his experiments, not me, though. Elena smiled, then leaned her head back. It was hard to tell if being cut off from the outside world made Elena crazy, or if she was under the influence of drugs. Why not you, Elena? What makes you so special? Asked Gilden. Oh, me? Elena laughed as she grabbed the bars of her cage and swayed her head back and forth. She came to a sudden stop and looked forward at the group. I'm Mavis's daughter.